Welcome. This video is going to go over the difference between normative and positive statements. This is something you encounter generally towards the beginning of one of your economics courses. What your professor will probably say is that economics is a discipline that focuses on positive statements. And what this means is that we like to study statements and questions that look at what is, things that exist or not, things that we can test, we can show that they're true or false, that sort of thing. Whereas normative statements generally focus on things that should be or what ought to be. You can think of these things as opinions, everybody has one, a belief, that sort of thing. So generally in economics, we don't like to make these value judgments or these normative statements. What we focus on are these positive statements and testing whether something is or not. So let's look at some examples. First, let's consider minimum wage. And let's consider two statements, one that will be positive and one that will be normative. So if we consider minimum wage and we say something like an increase in minimum wage will increase unemployment. This is an example of a positive statement because it is an example of something that is. It's cause and effect. An increase in a minimum wage will increase unemployment. Now, what we can do is we can test this statement. So we can look somewhere that has an increase in minimum wage, and then we can see if unemployment actually goes up or down. Now, the statement doesn't have to be true to be a positive statement. It just has to be something that we can test. It's possible that an increase in minimum wage will decrease unemployment. It's still a positive statement. So, a positive statement is testable. Now, let's consider minimum wage, but we'll write a normative statement. Increasing the minimum wage is bad for the economy. This is an example of a normative statement because we can't really test this. We don't know what bad for the economy really is. Is bad for the economy an increase in unemployment? Is bad for the economy a decrease in GDP per capita? We don't really know what this bad for the economy is, so this is an example of a normative statement. It is an opinion or belief. So let's consider another example. Maybe we will consider the example of NFL or National Football League ratings are too high. And if you're not an American and a fan of American football, you could just substitute FIFA or your version of football in this sentence. So you could imagine that football ratings are too high, too many people are watching on TV. This is not testable because what does it really mean for something to be too high? This isn't a hypothesis. We can't test whether something is too high or too low. It is a belief or an opinion. So NFL ratings are too high. That's an example of an opinion or normative statement. Now, if you were to change this to, say, 3 million viewers per week, then this would be a positive statement because you could test how many viewers a football game has, and it's either true or false, therefore a positive statement. Let's look at another example. You could say that July is the hottest month. Is this a positive or a normative statement? It's a positive statement because it's testable. we could look at the temperature, whether it's in Celsius or Fahrenheit, and see if it is exactly the hottest month or not. Now, for example, you could say July is so hot. Wow, July is so hot, I'm so uncomfortable. Well, this is a normative statement. It's not something that we can test. What does it mean for something to be so hot? It's an opinion or a belief or an example here of this normative statement. So what should you take away from this? Normative, an opinion or a belief. Positive, it's something that's testable. Maybe a trick to remember the difference between these two is think of normative. That's what someone believes should be normal, whereas positive, something you can test. It could either be positive or negative. It's an example of something that is.